Hi there, this is Clovis from Kinematic Lab. In this video I'm going to show you how to use the outlines object. So first of all, I'm going in the UI Toolkit interface and go in the stripes category. So you have here a outlines button, so I left click on this button and you see that in this case it opens a floating window. Okay. So what is important to know is that Outlines is not like the other UI Toolkit plugins. It's not a geometry plugin. This is a tool which will generate splines and use splines to grow some meshes on top of it. So it's going to generate some layers and some objects in it. So first of all, I'm going to create an object. So let's start with a teapot. And Outlines is going to create some lines depending on the view angle. So I select my geometry and press create outlines. So what you can see now is that it created some splines. Actually it's only one spline, okay, but with sub-splines, okay, following the outlines in this view angle. And I can generate other outlines in another view angle. Etc. So if I move this away, you see that I have my lines created and I can recognize my teapot from these lines. So this is pretty cool already. So this is pretty useful. You have some options here to change the wire color of your outlines. So if you change it, you can generate some other lines, but with this new color. Okay. And these lines can have some shape controls. So basically this is a cylinder, but it can be a plane, okay, or a cube, like a rectangle shape. So okay for this. Let's go back to my teapot. Now you see that you have two options here, normalize and angle. So if I generate my outlines from this view, let's go back to cylinders, okay, with a smaller thickness. The outlines are created depending on the angle between the view and the face's normals. So if I reduce this angle, let's say 20, my outlines are going to be created more in front of me, okay? And if you go above 90, let's say 150, you're going to see outlines created on the back faces. Okay, so this is pretty cool, for example, to generate outlines like some layers. Okay, so I will create some 20 per 20 angles. Okay, and another one like that. So what I have now is that I have my outlines, okay, going through my teapot geometry, okay, following the view angle. Okay, so now the other parameter here is normalize. So basically if you put this value to 0, it's going to create the outlines which fits perfectly, but you can see them, they look perfect in this view angle, but when you turn around you see that they are really following the polygon edges. So it can can be great, but can have some disadvantages. So you can normalize, like, let's say it smoothed out the lines to make something smoother. Okay, so now from these lines I can make some growing shapes. Okay, so first of all, what I have to do, because this is only one spline, I have to separate these splines into subsplines and separate objects. So I press the explode button, and what it does is that it really separates the splines. Okay, so you have separated objects, and I keep them selected and press grow. And now you have some growing meshes growing along these splines. So if you hide the shapes, okay. Now what else do we have here? You can change the key type of the growing animation. Okay, so it can start linear, slow, or speed, and same for stop. So let's say we start linear and we stop slowly. And we can also change the speed of it. So if you change it, you see that it's going to move the key. Okay. Right. Also, for now, you can say that it takes 30 frames to grow. So it's not going to go after 30 frames. But you see that all these lines are going to grow at the same speed for the moment. They all start at the same moment and they all stop at 30 frames. But you can have the option here to say that they are going to grow with a speed depending on the spline length. So if I check it, you see that all the keys are going to be offsetted, and the shorter lines are going to grow faster than the longer lines. You see that this one is finishing way later than the others. You can also make these lines disappear, so they appear like that, okay, but you can make them disappear. So I will select my lines, reduce the speed for now, and press disappear. So it creates more keys, and they appear and then they disappear. You can remove the disappear animation with this X button here, so it doesn't disappear. Okay. And you have the same keyframe options here to slow speeds and linear, the start and stop keyframe, so it can start to disappear slowly. Okay, for example. Fine. And you can reverse the direction of this disappearing. Okay. So they go back from where they started, or they just continue. And this disappearing can be also based on the length of the lines. So you have exactly the same options as the grow. And they can be changed at any time, okay? And this affects only the selected lines, so you can really do that on the lines you need. You have two options here now to say that the life is the number of frames your line is going to stay at the fully grown state. So let's say 40 frames. And when you play the animation, the line is growing, and then 40 frames later they start to disappear. Okay. And the speed here, this is the same as the growing speed, but for disappearing. So this is the number of frames which will be taken for disappearing animation. So you can change this speed and make them disappear really fast, like that, for example. Okay, so now you will see that you can also delay the animation of these lines. So I'm going to create some outlines from this teapot. So let's create some lines with different angles. Okay, so now I have all my lines. Okay, I'm going to select them. I go into the grow category here and press explode. So it's going to explode all these lines into separated lines. Okay, and from that I can press the grow button. So it's going to create a new layer with my growing shapes and my splines hidden in the same layer. So now I can see all these lines are growing. Okay, and let's keep the grow animations like that. I will just remove the lens based. Okay, so they grow all at the same speed. And let's go in the delay animation. So what it does is that it's going to delay all these keyframes based on some controls. So it can be based on their X position. So I will check this X value here and press delay animation. So don't forget that, of course, a line doesn't always have its pivot point where you want it. It's mainly in the first knot. So in this case, it's not going to work really well with the X position, but maybe with the Z position. And if you multiply with this value, it's going to increase the delay between each lines. Okay. So now you can see them appearing from the top. And you can change this at any time again. Okay. Now you will see them appearing from the bottom. Or from this side, and you can of course use these options together. So this is using just some pivot point position, but you can use a point distance. So let's say I will create an object here, okay, and I will pick this point, and this is going to be the distance between the lines and this helper, which is going to change the delay animation. So I'm going to select these lines and again press delay, and you see that they are starting from where the point is. So if I change its position, See that it starts from here now. And you can also just say random, so it will just randomize the delay, so it will just start whenever they want. Okay, and you can just, by pressing the delay button again, change the way they appear. Okay, which one is the first, which one is the second. And you can multiply this delay. Okay. And this is really affecting what it does with the grow and disappear animation. So if you change something here, let's say you want it to be length based and appear slowly, this is always going to work. Okay, in this all these parameters and grow and disappear are going to be modified then by the delay animation. So if I put multiplier to 0, it's just going to work as if you don't have any delay, but you want to delay it. Okay, it just adds some life to it. So what is great too is that this tool can work with some splines that you generated yourself or that you get from other places. So let's just remove everything from my scene, and I will create some splines myself. Okay. First, what I have to do is again separate all the splines which could be attached. So this line, for example, is a donut spline, so it has to be exploded. Oh, this has to be turned into spline before. Fine. And then all these lines can be grown like that. And you can still change, the shape of these lines. Okay, whatever they are, flat shapes or just rectangular shapes or just cylinders. And even with your custom splines, you can change everything on that, so you can start slowly and finish faster. Okay, right now you have a delay already, but you can remove this delay and you can change the speed, or it doesn't say it's length based, so they're all going at the same speed up. I really like this length based option because it looks much more natural. And I'm going to make them disappear. But they can disappear slowly and not length based. So that's it. Just create some splines, then detach them, and then make them grow and change their animation. It's really easy to use, and something that you have to remember is that it applies on the selected lines. So if you want to change the animation of this stuff, you still can change it. Okay, and it's going to affect just the selected stuff. Yeah, that's it.